So I knew I was onto something. I was seeing my athletes improve, but the product itself was still a prototype. It was still pretty much raw bones. The cords would fall off the rollers and things of this nature. So I was super, super pleased with the results that my clients, my athletes were getting, but I wasn't pleased with the product. So I made it my life goal to perfect the product. That's taken me years. It's taken me years and over hundreds of thousands of dollars to really perfect the product itself. And getting patents, getting trademarks, getting testimonials, getting statistics, supporting the science behind it, because everything I did came off of the science of power equals strength times speed. So the Centerforce Hitter was a strength exercise, but not like you get in the weight room. It was a speed exercise, but not like you get from doing more drills. So it addressed every component of athleticism. And what it also did, which was really the foundational of all of it, it improves your balance. And I came to realize, I'll never forget the day back in the 80s that I realized your greatest athletes have one thing in common. They got phenomenal balance. And the one thing the Centerforce does is it challenges your balance as you move through space. The best way to challenge balance is to get you off balance, and your body have to make those adjustments through training the proprioceptors. And I'll never forget whenever Trey Hillman, he was a great baseball player himself. He went on to manage here and overseas, and now he's one of the coaches for the Miami Marlins. And I'll never forget when he used the Centerforce Hitter, he said, "This is the best proprioceptor device I've ever seen, and I'm not a gimmicks guy." And he totally endorsed it because he could understand what it was addressing was proprioceptor response, which is athleticism in a nutshell. So then I went on to get Steve Finley's testimonials, Trey Hillman's testimonial, Evander Holyfield's testimonial. Evander Holyfield used my prototype. We used it. I've trained him for 20 plus years. We used it when we were prepared for the Mike Tyson fight. And even the boxing trainers were impressed because they could see that his hand speed improved, but most importantly, his balance and his ability to move his feet improved from connecting the lower half to the upper half. Then I went on to break into the softball market and worked with a great coach, Lindsey Garner. She was an All-American softball player at University of Texas, and then she went on to become a hitting coach, which is what she does now. And she also thinks that the Centerforce Hitter is the best training device for any type of rotational sport, pitching, hitting a baseball, hitting a softball, hitting a golf ball, because as she explains, you're always getting immediate biofeedback. And so what's going on is your body, because of the resistance, because of that purple angle resistance at the hips where you connect the lower half to the upper half, is giving you feedback, and your body's making those adjustments so that your body moves better. Well, when your body moves better through space, it's able to make more power, make more force, and use that force for the effort at hand. Whether it's you're hitting a baseball, throwing a football, hitting a golf ball, whatever, the Centerforce is not a one sports product. It's a multi-sports product because it addresses that movement. Then Kyle Gray. Kyle Gray was one of the kids I worked with for a long time. And I worked with him as far back as during his high school career. I talked to him today, as a matter of fact. And he went on to give him the Centerforce Hitter the credit for his numbers skyrocketing in college and him getting drafted in the Major League Baseball. And today he was saying he thought that his career would have never gone as far as it did because of the Centerforce Hitter, period. He also, we were talking about, he had a problem with his shoulder way back before high school. And he feels like because the Centerforce Hitter, it reinforced good fundamentals, but also took him to the next level of speed swing, that it allowed him to play longer because he used his hips to generate force and not his shoulders so much. So I had boxers. Termite Watkins, one of the greatest boxing trainers of all times, says he thinks it's the best training device because, again, it speeds up the hands, but it develops balance. So So as I've continued to work on the Centerforce and really, really dive into, listen to what great trainers, great athletes have to say about Centerforce training, I came up with a term ISP. It stands for Individual Specific Pathway. And what I came to realize is every great athlete has their own individual specific pathway. They have a lot of the same basic fundamentals, but they have a different individual specific pathway. So Centerforce training, I've seen this in 5 different sports firsthand and with the testimonials from the athlete themselves. Centerforce training addresses first basic fundamentals, which that's most important. It also gets an athlete back to its basic fundamentals if they're having a little bit of a slump. But then what it does, it takes that athlete's performance to another level that they've never been at, addressing their specific individual movement pathway. Depending on how tall someone is, depending on the length of their levers, there's things each athlete's doing a little bit differently, even in the same sport, that makes them do it better. So I named that the ISP because that's what Centerforce training does. It addresses the ISP that no other training device that I'm aware of can address like it does. The weight room won't address it, doing more drills doesn't address it, hitting more balls doesn't address it. So that's what Centerforce training actually does. So I have made it my life's goal to finish the Centerforce Hitter, to get it completely market ready, which just recently I've made some little small changes that didn't interfere with my patent to get it perfect, ready for the marketplace. The components that I chose to use are the highest end, best components. So it's great quality, but at the same time, very, 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 very durable for the athlete that wants to use it on a regular basis, wants to use it on game day, wants to take it to the training center, wants to take it to the driving range, wants to set it up in their backyard and use it, wants to use it in the garage. The other thing that's phenomenal about the Centerforce and Centerforce training is you do not need to have anyone there to help you, because it's actually a training system to where you don't want any instruction. You want to let your body learn through movement a better way to move through space. Dr. Perazzola calls that brain imprinting. There's a lot of research that shows that there's really no such thing as muscle memory. It's actually brain imprinting. So in the right type of training, you want to be imprinting the right movement through space on your brain, like downloading it into a computer. And you do that through training it enough on a regular basis, which the training of the Centerforce is quick, short, and very, very sport specific. So when you need to do that biomechanical movement correctly, the chances of you doing it correctly are much, much greater because of Centerforce training. So I've continued this. Now I feel like it's finally, all the bugs are worked out of it. There's a couple of different ways it can be built to reduce cost if that was somebody's goal. So now I'm in a position to where I've done what I'm good at, what I'm the best at, which is developing these products. Now I'm ready to pass it on to someone else that can launch it into the worldwide marketplace the right way, because the market, because it is a multi-sports trainer, is so big.